Dr. Elise Hartman had always been fascinated by forgotten places. As a historian, she specialized in cataloging derelict institutions across England: hospitals, asylums, orphanages. Her next project took her to the ruins of St. Ives Orphanage, an estate tucked into the hills of Yorkshire, shrouded by thick forest and near constant fog. St. Ives had been closed in 1904 under mysterious circumstances. The official reports were vague: unfit conditions, structural concerns, and whispers of tragedies. But Elise's research told a different story. Over 36 children had gone missing in the orphanage's final year. No remains were ever found. No one was ever charged. The building was locked and left to rot. That only made it more appealing to Elise. She arrived with camera gear, a laptop, audio recorders, and a journal. The doors groaned open at her touch. Dust fell from the ceiling like ash. Time had stopped here. Torn dolls lay in corners. Rusted bed frames lined the dormitory walls, and a rotting rocking horse slowly moved in the cold breeze. She began cataloging every room, every document she could find. In the matron's office, she discovered a torn page from a journal. Greater than asterisk, the children are whispering again. They speak to someone I cannot see. They say he waits beneath the floor. Later that night, Elise played back her audio. A faint voice, not hers, whispered, "Asterisk, help us." At first, Elise assumed it was the wind or her own mind. But the next day, she found small handprints on her bedroom mirror. Dust disturbed around her, though she had locked the door. And then, she began to see them. Children, pale, hollow-eyed, barefoot, watching from the end of the hallway, standing beneath crumbling archways. Sometimes they moved, sometimes they just stared. In desperation, Elise contacted the local parish and was referred to Father Malcolm, an elderly priest who had once tried to exorcise the building decades ago. He arrived reluctantly, face pale as he stared at the orphanage's towering silhouette. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "It's not the children you need to fear, it's what they belong to." They ventured into the orphanage's sealed basement, where the cold grew unbearable. There, Elise found dozens of small beds, makeshift sleeping quarters underground. The matron had kept the children down here, locked them away. As she filmed, her lens went black. Something pressed against the camera. When she pulled it away, dozens of handprints smeared across the lens, despite no one else being near her. Father Malcolm began to pray, but his voice trembled. Then he screamed. A monstrous figure rose from the floor, formed from soot and sorrow, an amalgamation of the orphan's grief. It was the maw, an ancient entity that fed on forgotten pain. The children were not just ghosts, they were prisoners, held to fuel its hunger. The maw turned its hollow face toward Elise. Its voice echoed like cracking bones. Greater than asterisk, tell their story, or take their place. Elise ran. She dragged Malcolm with her, though he barely moved, shaking violently. They fled into the library, where Elise discovered the original orphanage records hidden beneath the floorboards. Dozens of names, the truth. She returned upstairs and began reading the names aloud, one by one. Each name she spoke sent a light into the air. The ghosts began to gather, reaching toward her voice. Asterisk Anna, James, Beatrice, Eli. With each name, the maw screamed louder, crumbling from within. The sorrow it thrived on began to unravel. As Elise read the final name, the windows shattered, and the entity let out one final shriek, then dissipated into dust. The children's spirits vanished with it, their faces at peace. Father Malcolm collapsed, breathing shakily. The dawn broke over the orphanage for the first time in a century. Final scene. Elise stood alone in the empty hall. Where the maw once stood, only her recorder remained playing one soft whisper on loop. Greater than asterisk. Thank you. She smiled through tears, stepped out of the house, and never looked back.